Hi, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Function Junction. This is a brand new video podcast. I think they call them like vlogs or something. I don't know what the kids call them these days. Fortunately,
Changes every week.
Well, fortunately, I have with me. So let me start here. My name is Simon Timms. I'm an ASP.NET. Well, I'm used to saying that I'm an ASP.NET MVP, but I guess that I'm a Visual Studio and Development MVP. I think I'm kind of in my fourth year of doing that, and I am joined today by the proverbial kid, who is Eric Fleming. If you've watched the ASP.NET Monsters, you may have seen Eric show up a couple of times throughout various episodes, but he's going to join me here, and we are going to talk all about Azure Functions because they are super exciting and fun and new and the future of absolutely everything. So this is going to be our brand new podcast, which is going to be called Function Junction. That's right. Some of you get that reference, some of you are like, oh, I wasn't even alive in the 80s to understand that reference.
I wasn't alive in the 80s either, and I understand it. So I think.
Oh, God, it's so depressing. I'm so old. All right. Anyway, so Eric, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Fleming. I've been a professional developer for like probably 8 or 9 years now. I've been kind of working since I was 16, 17, getting paid professionally to write code. And lately I've actually gotten the opportunity to work on some of the Microsoft documentation, some of the C# getting started, as well as a couple articles for .NET Core. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. It's gonna be fun. Azure Functions are, like Simon said, they are the future. Everything about them is exciting. It's gonna be a good time.
All right, so we're going to try and put this thing out weekly, I think. So every week we're going to talk a little bit about functions. So if you have questions about functions, feel free to put stuff down below in the comments, and we will, try and answer them. But this is going to be a little bit of an exploration for us too. Neither of us are experts on functions, probably because they're so new. There's really nobody who is an expert on them yet. But it's going to be a voyage of discovery, and we'll hope you guys will come with us. All right, so let's back this up and say that you've never heard of Azure Functions. This is brand new. So what is Azure Functions, Eric?
So I think we've come up with a great definition for Azure Functions, and they're very discrete, isolated, triggered blocks of code that can run without context in a highly distributed fashion. And while these functions can run without context, they can also be chained together, to kind of create and form these workflows to make development a little bit easier.
That's awesome. So we can orchestrate these things together and have functions that launch other functions, and then functions that wait for functions to finish, and those sorts of things. And they're really lightweight. They can be written in pretty much any language, although kind of .NET languages are the best to work with at the moment. There's a couple of things that aren't quite there yet for other languages, but there's going to be support for Python and JavaScript, and then of course all of the .NET languages. So your C#, your F#, your Visual Basic .NETs. If that's the sort of thing that you want to do, please don't.
Yeah, and there's as from what I can tell lately, there's been a lot of focus on JavaScript, getting that stuff out the door. So that's pretty cool. And these functions, they can when you trigger, or you can form all these together. There's many different triggers in which you can make these functions start to function and chain together and everything. Storage triggers, HTTP triggers, etc. And I think we're gonna try to dive into each one of those weekly. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think we'll probably start by doing an episode on each one of the different ways of triggering a function, and then we'll move on to more advanced scenarios after that. So I will say that right off the bat, there are two ways of hosting functions. So you can host functions inside of an existing or a brand new app services plan. So that would be kind of the same way that you host your website in Azure right now, or the same way that you would host web jobs inside of Azure right now. And that's kind of, in my mind, the boring way of doing things, and maybe even the wrong way of doing things, because it keeps everything on your own infrastructure, and you lose out on the ability to scale. So if you go the other way, which is just kind of like the general all-purpose way of hosting Azure Functions, it's not hosted on your own infrastructure at all. It's hosted on some number of nodes out there. And there was just a talk that the Azure Functions group gave the other day. They do kind of monthly question sessions, and they said that if you use this hosting plan, it may run on as few as 40 instances and as many as several hundred instances, depending on your data center. So I think it's comical that it's as few as 40 instances. So the nice thing about that is that it provides for much greater scale, and at the same time, you only pay when the functions run. So functions are built based on this kind of weird made-up unit, which is what is called like a gigabyte second or something like that, a megabyte second maybe, but it's basically a unit of measure that is how much memory you use and for how long you use that amount of memory. So if you have a bunch of code that runs pretty quickly and doesn't use a lot of memory, then functions are ideal. And it could be that you could do like 200 or 300,000 executions a month for $1, which is nothing. So it can be much cheaper to host in Azure Functions, and at the same time, vastly more scalable.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to get too far into the weeds in our inaugural episode, so maybe we'll stop there, and then in our next episode, we'll start digging in a little bit better. So I hope everybody will join us for subsequent episodes, and maybe you want to just pick a trigger that we're going to use for our first episode? HTTP or Q?
Yeah, let's start with HTTP.
Okay.
I feel like that's going to be a very common one to do. And
Great.
All right. HTTP trigger next time.
Hopefully everybody join us for HTTP triggers on Azure Functions next time. Thanks for watching Function Junction.